Just in at an ongoing press conference at the White House, President Donald Trump and his officials are blaming the tragic air collision between two aircraft in Washington, D.C., in part on DEI policies and hirings. When asked about this, he did not deny that DEI policies were responsible for the collision. It's just awful that families who are grieving right now and suffering after this loss have to be subjected to this kind of rhetoric by this president and administration.
Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by and supporting your girl. So, today's video is a bit sad and tragic, but let's get into the videos and I'll see you at the end of the video.
There may be survivors on this flight, and here's why. This is not the first time there has been a major plane crash in the Potomac River. On January 13th, 1982, there was one of the largest aviation disasters that happened in the Potomac River, also in January. So the water conditions may be very similar. The Potomac River is known for crazy currents, various depths, and in 1982, the search and rescue efforts were extremely difficult, but there were 5 survivors, 79 people on board, 74 passengers, 5 crew, 74 people passed away, and there were 5 survivors. So there is some hope. For those of you who don't know, there was just a major aviation disaster where a Black Hawk helicopter crashed into an American Airlines flight. And this is extremely odd because Black Hawk helicopters are piloted by extremely well-trained military personnel. Black Hawk helicopters are used for transporting troops, medical evacuations, special military operations. Pilots of Black Hawks go under rigorous training. So a lot of facts here make this disaster extremely odd and questionable. And we don't have all the facts now, and it's important to not jump to conclusion. But this incident raises several questions because such collisions are extremely rare due to strict air traffic control protocols. Military and civilian aircraft operate under controlled airspace. The ATC is responsible for the separation of aircraft. We live in a very high-tech time where they have computer screens in front of them showing where every aircraft is in their circumference. Again, it's way too soon to speculate, and we have to be careful not to run wild with things. But there are only a few reasons why a Black Hawk helicopter would crash into a commercial airline, and that would be mechanical failure, human error, miscommunication, or intentional act. And here's the problem. It's hard not to run wild with ideas because we have been left in the dark this entire month. January has felt like an entire year. At the start of the year, there were major aircraft tragedies all over the world. Then we had a T attack in New Orleans and no one is talking about it. Then there was a Cybertruck explosion caused by a supposed Green Beret. No one is talking about it. Then we had the fires in Los Angeles where there was no water in the hydrants, and the news quickly stopped reporting on these fires. For the entirety of the months of November and December, we had unidentified flying objects all throughout our American skies. It was not just New Jersey. Trump just released the supposed truth of these aircrafts, and we all know that's not the truth. The White House has claimed that those drones were controlled and approved by the FAA, but that doesn't even make any sense because if that were true, then why did it stop all commercial flights and military flights? Airlines would have been notified of this ahead of time. And unfortunately, we're never going to know the truth. And that is why we are the media now. This aircraft disaster, I guarantee, will go poof, just like everything else. It's so important to ask questions, analyze the facts. Don't jump to conclusions, but also don't believe what the media tells you. Believe what your eyes see and what your intuition tells you based off of the facts. And the facts are right now that a Black Hawk helicopter crashed into a commercial airline that then fell into the Potomac River. And this river flows along many significant government organizations and locations like the Pentagon, like Arlington National Cemetery, like Reagan National Airport. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of strange things are happening in the air. from aircraft to fires to fog. All we can do is try to make the best sense of it we possibly can. I pray for all the victims of this tragedy. I pray for peace. I pray that all the suspicions that we have are not true and that this was simply an accident. I pray for anyone affected. Our country has been through enough this month. God bless these people, God bless their families, and God bless this country.
So Donald Trump just made a joke about swimming with the victims of the plane crash. Here is how he responded to a reporter who asked him in the Oval Office if he has any plans of visiting the site. Quote, "I have a plan to visit, not the site, because you tell me, what's the site? The water? Do you want me to go swimming?" End quote. No, Donald, she's asking you because you are the president of the United States if you are going to pay a visit to the site, maybe to hold a press conference to inform the American people about information you may have about what happened. So that is the president of the United States making a sarcastic remark about a plane and helicopter collision in which there were 64 passengers on the plane and 3 passengers on the helicopter without any survivors being reported, but the president feels it is appropriate to joke about going swimming with the victims of the crash. He's so unpresidential, it hurts.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a plan to visit not the site because you tell me what's the site, the water?
Well, to meet with the first responders down there.
It's believed that there are no survivors in the mid-air collision between American Airlines passenger plane and a US Army helicopter on Wednesday night above Reagan National Airport in Washington. The two collided and then fell into the Potomac River in Washington, both wrecks being picked out of that river yesterday, bodies being recovered. No survivors found. President Trump suggesting to the press last night that diversity and inclusion quotas was part of the reason why the crash happened. It is actually the deadliest air disaster in the US in 20 years. So President Trump was claiming that Democrat policies were in part responsible because the Federal Aviation Administration, he said, was actively recruiting workers with severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative. He said he had no proof to support his claims. He just says he has common sense, and it could have been. He went on to say that air traffic controllers needed to be geniuses, and it doesn't take a regular person to do this job. It needs to be someone of the very highest caliber. Let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, thank you, President Trump, for telling us why the airplane crashed into the helicopter. I see that that was a DEI problem. You stated that American Airlines had initiated DEI policies, and that was before you got into office. You said this live, and you said this just like literally 30 seconds ago. The problem with the airplane crash? DEI. Thanks. I was wondering what it was. That's what it was. It was diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The cited FAA text that you read is real, but the implication that this policy is new or that it stems from efforts that began under President Biden or the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is demonstrably false. It's been on the FAA's website.
That, you?
No, it's on the website, the FAA's website. It was there in 2013. It was there for the entirety.
What I read.
It was there for the entirety of your administration too. So my question is, why didn't you change the policy during your first administration?
I did change it. I changed the Obama policy. And we had a very good policy. And then Biden came in and he changed it. And then when I came in 3 days ago, I signed a new order bringing it to the highest level of intelligence. Okay.
It's on the website.
Please.
How in the world does a Black Hawk military helicopter crash directly into a commercial airliner? As someone who flew with a medevac team for almost a decade, I have so many questions about how this incident took place. I guess I don't understand. How are you not communicating with the towers? How are your eyes not out there seeing the lights on the plane? You're getting close to the runway. Like, so many things had to go wrong at the exact same time for an incident like this to happen. Honestly, it is too out of the ordinary to even theorize on right now, to even think that it could have been anything except a freak accident. I mean, if you've seen the video that's circulating on here or on X, it's just the plane's coming in for a perfect approach and the helicopter just rams right into it like a car rear-ending another car. Miraculously, last I've seen, there's been about 4 survivors. I don't know about anyone else, but absolutely insane that something like this could happen in DC, the most secure airspace probably in the entire world. Go to the comments, let me know what your thoughts are.
So we have a rather disturbing update on the crash that happened earlier between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and a passenger jet. Now, on the passenger jet, we know that there were over 60 passengers and also 4 staff and 3 soldiers on the Black Hawk helicopter. To date, they've unfortunately recovered 28 bodies from the river, and they don't expect to find any survivors. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because Donald Trump has just done a press conference. And in that press conference, firstly, he has blamed DEI. That is the policy of hiring people from diverse backgrounds, and it's all about inclusion and people who may have disabilities in the workplace. He is blaming them for lowering the standards and being the cause of the crash. Now, people with various ailments and disabilities and a diverse part of the community are hired into jobs, and rightly so. But it still doesn't mean, as Trump alluded, that they are hired into positions they're not qualified for. The man speaks before he thinks. They've not had any kind of crash investigation yet. We're still pulling unfortunate victims from the river. And he's already blaming policies that the last government put in place as the cause of the crash. Every single day, my heart bleeds for the Americans out there who did not vote for Trump and those who voted for him and are now regretting it. It really does.
So guys, my heart really goes out to the families of those that are involved, in this tragic crash. It's never easy to lose a loved one. The pain, the scar, the emotions, it just never goes away. No matter how long it takes, you still feel emotionally down, emotionally troubled. And I can't even begin to put myself in their shoes right now and begin to say this is what they actually feel right now, because nobody can actually know how painful it is to lose a loved one until that person is actually in their shoes. And we don't pray to lose a loved one no matter the circumstances. Even those that have quite elderly people do not pray to lose their loved ones, even though we all know that yes, at the point in time they will have to go, but nobody prays to lose their loved ones. So my heart really goes out to them. There were so many potentials that were lost. So many bright futures just perished. The young pilots, the flight attendants, the lawyers, the figure skaters, the young. I can't even begin to imagine, guys. I mean, nobody saw this coming. It's a tragedy. And I listened to a lot of comments from a lot of people. I watched the president's press conference and everything is said, blaming Democrats even without evidence. I mean, guys, I just made a video just yesterday about DEI. I mean, what does DEI have to do with the ability for somebody to actually do their job correctly? I mean, this is like saying, how should I even make this example now? This is like saying having a tattoo or having a body piercing affects how a person does his or her job. I mean, it absolutely makes no sense, no matter how I look at it. I mean, correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. I mean, the way I see DEI is that it means that, okay, I can't discriminate against you for this job, okay? But you still have to go through training like everyone else. So I don't know why someone would actually think that the pilot was just given the job with no training. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. There are so many questions many people are asking. Some are saying, why is the military helicopter and the commercial airline flying in the same space, for crying out loud? Why was the military helicopter flying close to a busy civilian airport? So many questions, guys. So many questions. And according to research, this is the deadliest aviation disaster in the US in the last 20 years. Guys, so, so many questions. It's really heartbreaking. It's really sad. It's really sad, especially for those young, bright minds that have been lost in this tragedy. I really want to know what you guys think. I mean, I've said a lot. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm overreacting. Or correct me if I'm speaking out of context or if I'm speaking out of point. And it's really sad. So many families are grieving right now. So many families are in pain, heartbroken, and some of them might not even recover from this tragic accident. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Thank you for sharing and watching my videos, and I'll see you in my next video. Please stay safe. Ciao.